Free agency is right around the corner, and the Detroit Lions need to get their books ready for acquiring more talent in free agency. And how do you do that? Well, you got to cut some players. In this video, I'm going to give you 5 players that are cut candidates that'll help Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell bring in some players that will actually give us production for this up-and-coming season. But before we get into today's video, if you're a fan of everything Detroit Lions and you like the NFL Draft, go ahead and subscribe to my channel because I talk all things Detroit Lions news and rumors as well as NFL Draft. Before we get in this video started, if you could hit that like button, that'd be fantastic. Let's get into 5 cut candidates for the Detroit Lions. Start with the most obvious one here, and that is Michael Brockers, the edge whom we traded for last year. Why is it the most obvious? Because last year he was a healthy scratch for a majority of the 2022 NFL season. He's entering the final year of his Big O contract, and his cap hit is nearly $14 million at $13,975. And when it comes to Michael Brockers, you got to be able to save some money, and the cap hit plus dead cap hit, that's nearly $4 million. The Lions save $10 million. And if you look what he did last year, it's not a whole lot, folks. We're talking about he only played in 6 games, healthy scratch, 1 solo tackle, 3 assists, 0 sacks, and 0 forced fumbles. Basically, when it comes to the Detroit Lions, what he was last year was a player's coach. That's really it. Literally, a player who coached because he was not on the field much. So let me know in the comments section right now, is it time to move on from Michael Brockers? Why for yes and for no? Let me know what you think on him. The next player that is a cut candidate for me is offensive guard Halapoulivaati Vaitai. And you say, why cut Big V? He's a part of this very dominant offensive line. Well, he didn't play at all last season. He didn't come in here with this regime. And his cap hit is $12,448,000. That is quite a bit. And when you look at what he brought this past season, he didn't bring anything, because he was injured the whole time. And we got to have players that are on the field. And if you go into the NFL draft, you can acquire talented guards in the 3rd round, late in the 2nd round, hell, even a little bit later. That's how good guards are in this draft. And you got to be able to trust Brad Holmes' draft strategy. So if you cut Big V, get a young guard, you should be able to stop the kill in the middle, well, the right side of the Lions offensive line, and save some money and take that money and use it elsewhere. Next player on my list for a cut candidate here is edge Charles Harris. Now you say Charles Harris, he's not a bad player. Well, he's coming off injury again in his worst Detroit Lions statistical year this year. And we had a guy who we drafted, Mr. James Houston, I think could fill his void for him. When you look at his cap hit, folks, it's quite a bit. $7,988,000. And it's not like his stats is freaking something that you can't replace. This year is 1 sack, 1 forced fumble, 10 solo, a total of 10 tackles. Now the career, a little bit better there, 15 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, 86 solo tackles, and 158 all the way over around when it comes to Charles Harris. And a lot of people will say, well, when you look at Charles Harris there, Mike, he was productive for the Detroit Lions when we got him last season. He was. Yes, he was. But at the same time, Charles Harris is replaceable from this past year's draft because we got a James Houston. We got a guy that can fill the void that he had there for this past year. I like Charles Harris, I do, but I also like the idea of drafting replacements. You got James Houston here, and the likelihood, and we all know this in the draft at pick 6, it's going to be a player upon this defensive line, whether it be edge or whether it be interior defensive tackle. And if you decide to go interior defensive tackle, say in free agency, and get a player that can help out with Aleem McNeil, then the odds of that being an edge at 6 seems to be a little bit higher. So when you look at it from a big picture, Charles Harris could be a player whom the Detroit Lions could go ahead and replace. Let me know in the comment section right now. Are you willing to part ways from Big V? Put K for keep, put C for cut. I want to know what you think upon Big V potentially cutting him for this up-and-coming season. Next player that is a cut candidate here is Quintez Cephus, the wide receiver. Now, you're saying, Mike, he is a pretty good wide receiver. And when on the field, he is, absolutely. But he has been consistently now injured the past couple of years, and we can't have that happen. The Detroit Lions have great depth at wide receiver. It's ridiculous. And the Lions could re-sign DJ Chark. If they do, you really don't have a spot for Quintez Cephus. The cap hit for him is $1,086,000. Now, that's not much. It isn't. But considering the fact that he has done basically absolutely nothing last year and didn't do a whole lot the year before, with only 15 yards on 2 receptions, you say, my God, why is he here? When you can save $1,300,000 by cutting him. It's just a thought right there, folks. It is. A player who I'm going to sneak in, I'm going to make it 6 here. How about Logan Stenberg here? Dead cap hit of $185, saving of $1 million. And when I think of Logan Stenberg, he was pretty much the player that was the last resort for the Lions' right guard position. He really was. And the Detroit Lions are going to probably upgrade that position. And you got other players for backup role that can fill his spot. Hell, Dan Skipper was getting some looks over him. We got Evan Brown, who's a free agent the Lions can re-sign. So I think when it comes to the Detroit Lions, they'll go a different route and cut him. Folks, there's another route you can go, and we do got big games coming up, the Super Bowl, NFC Championship. So go to chatsports.com/LionsBet, put in the promo code Lions125, and you can save some money on betting on games because it's better than a lottery ticket. It's better than a casino. Go to chatsports.com/LionsBet. Next player on my list who I think the Detroit Lions should cut here is Julian Okwara. Oh, man, this one may be a little controversial for this list, but if you look at what he did for the Detroit Lions, it's not much. He's injured quite a bit since he's been a Detroit Lion. He's not a Brad Holmes guy, so we're not connected to him via the draft. The Lions save $1.3 million by cutting Julian Okwara. That's a good savings if you ask me. Okwara's stats is absolutely nothing. When you look at him here, it's really nothing to hang your hat on. This past year, 10 solo tackles and 2 sacks. 0 forced fumbles, 0 interceptions. He's had 29 solo tackles, 7 sacks, 1 forced fumble, and 1 interceptions. I think when it comes to the Detroit Lions, you need to have players that can do a little bit better than that. In all honesty, I think the Lions can. I think the Detroit Lions should go in a different route when it comes to Julian Okwara because he's been a player that's just not getting it done as of late. It's just not happening. And for the Lions, we need to have players that can get after the quarterback that is there all the time that you can rely on. I would rather go an undrafted free agent route, in all honesty, than having a guy who does have some talent that is inconsistently injured. I'm tired of injured players. We need to have players we can rely on a consistent basis. And he has proven he is not. Folks, I got some questions for you here. Out of all the players that I listed, pick one to cut. If you had one with your job on the line, one player you had to cut, whether it be Michael Brockers, Halapoulivaati Vaitai, Charles Harris, Quintez Cephus, or Julian Okwara, put it in the comments section. I want to know what you think upon the players that I listed. We got videos dropping here every single day, all the way till the next season. This is what we do. It is going to happen. The show, the One Pride Podcast, will be back on Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, so get ready for that. We talking draft. We talking free agency. We got breaking news. We got it all on this channel. With that said, folks, adios.